deadly protests against the United Nations peacekeeping mission.
Peacekeeping mission there reported that 19 people were killed in a new attack by suspected ADF elements early this morning in Maliki, northwest of the village of Oicha. The UN's Force Intervention Brigade sent a quick reaction team on the ground in liaison with the Congolese armed forces. The situation in Beni and Butembo remained relatively calm. The UN mission's deputy special representative and acting force commander were in Beni today, where they met with the Congolese military leadership to discuss further cooperation between the UN peacekeeping forces and the Congolese army.
Local Administrator Donat Kebwana said 14 bodies had arrived at the morgue in Oicha, 18 miles from the city of Beni, adding that they were killed by machete. A spokesman for the UN mission MONUSCO confirmed this figure, but later said the toll had, quote, been revised upwards, 19 dead. Kebwana said by phone from Oicha, quote, the army is already at the site and is pursuing the attackers, while the MONUSCO spokesman said a rapid intervention force of peacekeepers was dispatched to the area in the morning. The not-for-profit Congo Research Group, or CRG, said the new massacre brought to 99 the number of civilians killed by armed groups in the Beni area since November 5, following the launch of an offensive by the country's army. A CRG specialist said the vast majority of killings have been carried out by the Allied Democratic Forces, a notorious militia that has plagued eastern DR Congo since the 1990s. Fear and anger have prompted local people to take to the streets, accusing the authorities and MONUSCO of failing to protect them in demonstrations that have led to 7 deaths since Saturday. The International Committee of the Red Cross said it was treating 27 people injured in demonstrations in recent days. MONUSCO said in the capital Kinshasa on Wednesday it was launching a probe after receiving evidence that its troops may have killed a demonstrator in Beni the previous day. In a statement, MONUSCO quoted Mission Chief Leila Zerougi as saying the man, quote, was reportedly killed in an exchange with blue helmets as he was about to throw a patrol bomb. On Monday, a crowd stormed one of the 2 UN camps near Beni and set fire to one of its offices. Separately, a student was injured and 10 other people arrested on Wednesday as Congolese police broke up a demonstration outside the university in Goma, where anger has boiled over. Iraqi protesters torched the Iranian consulate in the city of Najaf on Wednesday in a dramatic escalation of anti-government demonstrations that have left more than 300 people dead. Outraged at the country they blame for propping up a government they've been demonstrating against for nearly 2 months, protesters chanted, quote, victory to Iraq and Iran out. Iraq's capital and its Shiite majority south have been gripped by the largest grassroots protests since the U.S.-led invasion that toppled Saddam Hussein in 2003. The change of regime 16 years ago opened the door for Baghdad's eastern neighbor to develop tremendous economic, political, and military sway, now slammed by protesters as overreach. Iran's consulate in Iraq's second holy city of Karbala was targeted earlier this month, and security forces defending the site shot 4 demonstrators dead at the time. In Najaf on Wednesday, units fired tear gas that wounded several dozen but ultimately retreated as hundreds of people encircled the consulate and lit tires, blankets, cardboard, and other items. The protesters broke into the building itself, which had been apparently evacuated of its Iranian staff. According to medical and security sources, the fires capped a deadly day in Iraq, where 2 protesters were shot dead in the capital. In Baghdad's colonnaded streets, young demonstrators donned helmets and medical masks to face off once more against security forces unleashing tear gas. The Islamic State group, meanwhile, claimed that it was behind 3 deadly explosions that rocked Baghdad late on Tuesday, killing 6 people. Medical and security sources said the near-simultaneous blasts were caused by explosives-laden motorcycles and a roadside bomb in Shiite neighborhoods. They were the first such attacks in Baghdad in several months, to be claimed by ISIS, which Iraq said had been defeated 2 years ago. Iraq had enjoyed a period of relative calm since then, but turmoil has struck once more with the bloody protests. The street violence in Iraq has left more than 350 people dead and some 15,000 wounded over the past 2 months. Another 100 protesters suffered injuries in 2 days of rallies in Hila, just south of Baghdad, when security forces used tear gas against them. The unrest has paralyzed daily life in many towns and cities, with schools intermittently closed, streets blockaded, and government offices empty. On Wednesday, religious authorities in Karbala shuttered private schools there and in nearby Babylon and Najaf for 2 days. They feared a repeat of Tuesday's chaos when clashes between riot police and protesters left 1 dead. Karbala, visited by millions of Shiite pilgrims from around the world each year, had seen deadly skirmishes overnight and during the day. Demonstrators on Wednesday torched tires in and around the city, sending thick plumes of black smoke barreling skywards. In Nasiriyah, further south, authorities ordered all public offices closed for 2 days, although these had been largely shut already by ongoing sit-ins and marches. Greece must take urgent steps to improve miserable conditions in its overcrowded island migrant camps, the UN refugee chief said Wednesday.
These living conditions need urgent improvement. We cannot have in Europe people living, whatever the situation of these people, we cannot accept that they live in such miserable living conditions, exposed also to violence and exploitation.
According to government figures, there are over 39,000 asylum seekers on the islands, with hundreds more arriving daily, capitalizing on mild weather. The International Organization for Migration says there are an additional 22,000 people in camps on the mainland, which are nearly full or already past capacity. Greece's conservative government last week announced a plan to expand in 45 migrant camps on Lesbos, Samos, Chios, Kos, and Leros. They also said they would work to make the borders airtight against a feared new surge of asylum seekers. Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis has also pledged to quickly resettle over 4,000 unaccompanied children after failing to persuade EU states to accept around 3,000 of them. Grandi, who will see Mitsotakis later on Wednesday and hold a press conference on Thursday, said he fully supports plans to bring more children to the mainland.
I am very worried, and I know the Prime Minister is very worried about children, especially children that travel alone. So they are a priority group. We need to do our maximum, all of us collectively, to help the children. I met some of them, and I am worried because they are the most exposed to violence, to exploitation. Europe has to do more. Europe has to do more for Greece. This is part of the European Union, and I speak here also as a European, not just as the High Commissioner. We need to do more for all the states that are receiving the people, and especially they are coastal states. My own country, Italy, Greece, Spain, Malta, these are the countries that are most impacted, and Greece at this moment is the most impacted.
There is already opposition from authorities on Lesbos and Samos to the planned new camps that are to hold over 5,000 asylum seekers each. Protests have taken place in several towns in northern Greece in recent weeks to block attempted relocations of asylum seekers. Hundreds of Colombians went on a general strike and protest in the streets of Bogota, irritated by the government's lack of response and intent on addressing corruption and economic inequality, amongst other woes.
Yo creo que es el momento de parar para para cambiar. Nos tienen que escuchar a las minorías, a los estudiantes, a la clase trabajadora que se levanta todos los días para luchar por este país.
Pues que ojalá que se dé cuenta de que hay un descontento enorme, de que hay un malestar enorme y que lo que está haciendo con la actitud dilatoria, con la actitud de tomarle el pelo la negociación, con la actitud de ponerse a hablar de cualquier otra cosa, menos de lo que la gente le pide, pues es seguir encendiendo y aumentando ese malestar.
Estamos expresando nuestra indignación como indígenas, como campesinos, como ciudadanos del país, porque hay una regresividad sistemática de los derechos al trabajo, a la salud, a la educación.
Nosotros estamos marchando en representación como vocería de los 64 pueblos indígenas que hay en la Amazonía colombiana para darle un mensaje al gobierno nacional que en la Amazonía no solamente hay selvas, sino que también hay pueblos indígenas que hemos mantenido y conservado la naturaleza y los bosques.
Up next, refugees in South Sudan struggle to resettle after floods. Minneapolis braces for a potential biggest November snowstorm ever. An explosion at Texas chemical plant, a TPC group official says, quote, "We did impact a lot of folks off-site." Plus, in Vancouver, Cirque du Soleil star says Lucia is a dream come true. Eagle News will return in a moment. Stay with us.
Accurate and fair reporting. Not only from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, but also abroad. Detailed and timely stories relevant to people all over the world. Catch all of these at Net25, your reliable source of news, entertainment, and technology updates.
Annyeong bonjour, konnichiwa, kumusta, hello po to all of our viewers in the Middle East and in North Africa. I am Ate DJ and you can watch me and Teacher Sally here on Net25 Kids Live. You can catch me every Tuesdays and Thursdays on Anong Sa Inyo, and you can catch Teacher Sally every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on actually this set. This is the Kid Cuento set. We are inviting you all to watch Net25 through OSN, the largest entertainment network in the Middle East and North Africa. You can now watch Net25 shows on the OSN channel 725, aired on the same day as the Philippines. Watch your favorite shows live, on demand, anytime, anywhere, and on any mobile device on OSN Play. Here on Net25 and OSN, you're surely going to feel at home. Siguradong at home kayo dito. Again, I am Ate DJ and I am one with 25.
Hello everybody, my name is Sheena and this is downtown Tampa. We are today at Tampa's Riverwalk, a trail that leads to so many downtown destinations such as Tampa's Museum of Art, Glazer's Children's Museum, and Rivergate Tower. But there's so much more to the Riverwalks, from playgrounds to restaurants. So while you're planning your vacation to Tampa Bay, make sure to watch Digital Nest on YouTube or Net25 live stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I'm Sheena Fernandez, your Florida Bureau correspondent, and I am 125.
Welcome back. This is Eagle News coming to you from Las Vegas. I'm Anna Kui. Hundreds of refugees' families in Maban are struggling to put back their homes, which have been destroyed by floodwaters last month. The refugees who sought refuge in the schools, health centers, and high grounds are slowly returning to their homes as floodwater subsides. Maban is hosting a total number of 143,000 Sudanese refugees settling in 3 camps of Doro, Yusuf Batil, and Jandarasa.
We urge agencies also to support, or the donors, to support the operation in Maban so that people can regain the new life. That's what I mean. All about is construction, because no homes. Everybody is now, as you see, even the houses here have been damaged. People are just lining up on the road. So it is terrible.
Some of the major challenges, I would first want to stress upon funding, because our operations in Maban, in terms of supporting the refugees and host community, we have had a 40% reduction in funding. And then on top of that, now we've had this issue of the flood, which has caused devastating effects to, a lot of the public and private facilities, and also, the livelihoods of the refugees and the host community.
هنا حفرت ده للعيال يرقدوا به، هسه عيال قاعدين ينوموا برا هنا. هاي هسه عيال قاعدين ينوموا برا هنا. هسه أنا داير نجهز في ده عشان نقدر نجيب لهم الغش عشان نسده. هاي وأقدر أجيب لهم هنا وذاته مروه ما في. هاي اللياقة ذول يشتغل به ذاته ما في. هاي لكن بس الذول ولده قاعد في سمش وقاعد في البعوضة.
A pair of storms packing heavy snow and hurricane-force winds wreaked havoc Wednesday for Americans on the move for the Thanksgiving holiday. On one of the busiest travel days of the year in America, an estimated 55 million people planning to drive or fly, highways in the West and Midwest were closed because of snow, and hundreds of flights were canceled. The National Weather Service said, quote, an extremely active weather patterns is in place across much of the U.S. A snowstorm that caused near whiteout blizzard conditions in Colorado dumped a foot of snow in Wyoming on Tuesday and was barreling eastward toward the Great Lakes region in the central U.S. Clouds worked through the night at the airport in Minneapolis, a snow-savvy city girding for possibly its biggest November dump ever. At the airport in Denver, which was hit with a foot of snow, nearly 500 flights were canceled and another 500 were delayed. On Monday night, 1,000 people slept at the airport. Out west, a dangerous storm hit southern Oregon and northern California that meteorologists are calling a bomb cyclone, a rapidly intensifying winter storm caused by a precipitous drop in atmospheric pressure. It dumped a foot of snow, forced roads to close, and prompted warnings for people to just stay home. One wind gust Tuesday in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, was clocked at 93 miles per hour. Hurricane force begins at 74 miles per hour. Mark Spield of the National Weather Service said the U.S. Northwest has not been hit by such a powerful storm since 1962. AccuWeather senior meteorologist Brian Thompson said, quote, the storm threatens to bring rain and mountain snow to much of California, including places like San Francisco and Sacramento, places that were largely spared by the past week's rain. Following an explosion at a TPC chemical plant in Texas, Troy Monk, the Director of Health, Safety, and Security for the TPC Group, tells reporters during a press conference, quote, we do recognize that we did impact a lot of folks off-site. Monk also warns residents of Port Neches about respiratory-type irritation, saying, quote, unfortunately, this type of fire produces smoke, and the smoke is an irritant.
Recognize that we did impact a lot of folks off-site, and there's obviously been reported damage, physical damage to residencies, glass broken, doors jammed in their frames, etc. Some of the impacts have even displaced residents. The most common thing is going to be respiratory type irritation. That's going to be mostly from the smoke, not necessarily from the chemical itself. You have to understand that with the plant being on fire, the chemical is actually being consumed as part of the fire. Unfortunately, this type of fire produces smoke, and the smoke is an irritant.
Officials and witnesses said 3 people were injured in an explosion of a chemical plant in Texas on Wednesday, which sent a huge fireball into the sky and triggered a mandatory evacuation. Dramatic video and photos shared on social media showed a large fire at the TPC Group facility in Port Neches near Houston, with one resident describing waking up to a huge boom. TPC said 2 plant employees and a contractor were injured. County Judge Jeff Brannick told KFDM News that 1 person suffered burns, 1 had a broken wrist, and another broken leg. He called it a miracle that there were no fatalities. The local Netherlands volunteer fire department said a mandatory evacuation had been ordered for everyone living within a half-mile radius of the plant. The TPC group said the explosion happened in what it said was a processing unit at around 1 a.m. local time. It said in a statement, quote, TPC Group has activated its emergency response plan and requested assistance from Port Neches Fire Department and Huntsman. The event is ongoing but will be brought under control as quickly and safely as possible. At this time, personnel at the site have been evacuated. We have accounted for all site personnel, and 3 personnel have sustained injuries and are being treated. The Port Neches plant is around 85 miles from Houston. According to TPC Group's company website, more than 200 people work at the facility. The facility produces butadiene, a flammable gas used in the production of synthetic rubber and other petrochemicals such as butane. Local media said a shelter for those forced from their homes has been opened at a church in Netherlands. In Vancouver, Cirque du Soleil star Shelley Epstein shares with Eagle News why Lucia is a dream come true for her. Archie Rose Natividad with the story.
The circus comes to Vancouver, and we got a behind-the-scenes look of the Cirque du Soleil production, Lucia. Lucia is based on various themes linked to the culture, history, and mythology of Mexico. Lucia debuted in April 2016 and is Cirque du Soleil's 38th original production since 1984. Did you know the entire production process takes about just over a year from conception to final production? Lucia is a show that brings you to imaginary Mexico, where light, luz in Spanish, and lluvia, which is rain, soothes the soul. Interwoven between the awe-inspiring set designs are the breathtaking circus acts of the show. The circus acts include the heart-stopping Russian swing, mind-boggling contortionist, trapeze, aerial straps, and many more. We got to meet with lead character Shelley Epstein to tell us more about her experience.
In Lucia, my character is called the Running Woman. She is part monarch, part Tarahumara ultramarathon running tribe. They're a tribe from Mexico, and so the monarch represents the link between, obviously, Cirque du Soleil is a Canadian company, and the theme of our show is Mexico, and the monarch butterfly migrates from Canada to Mexico, so that's like a nice subtle link between the two. She's kind of like a tour guide throughout the show and is here and there. It's really fun.
The magic behind Cirque du Soleil shows is its ability to amaze, resonate, and leave a lasting experience with the audience. When the circus entertainment company started in the 80s in Quebec City, it set out to invoke the imagination, provoke the senses, and evoke the emotions of people around the world. Its influence reaching as far as encouraging those to reach for their dreams and quite possibly join the circus.
Once upon a time, I was that little girl sitting in the audience watching my first Cirque du Soleil show in absolute awe, and I was like, oh, that's what I want to do, and that's when I realized there was a career, and if it's something you see and you're inspired and it's something you want to do, by all means, work hard pays off, follow that dream. And honestly, this was a dream and now it's my reality, so I couldn't be happier, and it's possible.
Lucia will be in Vancouver for 3 months and will be traveling to Europe for the next leg of their tour. Archie Rose Natividad for Eagle News. I'm 1 with 25.
Thanks, Archie. That is today's Eagle News. Join us again tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us at Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I'm Anna Kui, and I'm 1 with 25.